The crystalline halls of the Galactic Council shimmered with bioluminescent light as Emma stood before the assembly of alien dignitaries. Her scales rippled with nervous energy, each one catching the light in shades of deep purple and silver. As a draconian commander, she had faced countless battles across star systems, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Commander Emma," the High Chancellor's voice resonated through her translator implant. "You petitioned the Council to recognize your bond. With a human?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as the fragile newcomer's soft skin, short-lived, physically unremarkable. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Most species regard them as little more than curious oddities. "I do, Your Excellence," Emma replied, her voice steady despite the weight of 1,000 judgmental stares. "Bring forth this human," the Chancellor commanded. Edward walked into the chamber with quiet confidence, and Emma's heart swelled with pride. To the assembled aliens, he must have looked impossibly delicate. No scales, no chitin, no natural armor. Just pale skin, brown hair, and those remarkable hazel eyes that had captured her soul during a diplomatic mission to Earth. The Thoraxian ambassador, a being of living stone, laughed a sound like grinding boulders. "Commander, surely this is a jest. That creature would shatter under the weight of your smallest claw." "He appears malnourished," added the Vex representative, their gelatinous form quivering. "Does his species lack proper sustenance?" Edward's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Emma had warned him about this. "The human is adequate," Emma said firmly. "I ask only for the Council's blessing." "Adequate?" The Chancellor leaned forward. "Commander, you are one of our finest warriors. Your lineage traces back to the Dragon Lords of old Draconia. And you wish to bond with this?" "I do." The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. "Then prove his worth. The ancient law is clear: any bond between warriors of different species must be tested in the arena of worth." Emma's blood ran cold. The arena of worth hadn't been invoked in centuries. It was a relic from more barbaric times. "Your Excellence, that's not necessary. It is decided," the Chancellor interrupted. "Tomorrow at dawn. If the human survives 3 challenges, your bond will be recognized." The arena was an amphitheater carved from a meteor, floating in the void of space, contained by energy shields. Emma stood in the preparation chamber, watching Edward check his equipment. He wore simple combat armor, laughably thin compared to her own battle plate. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "We could leave, find somewhere else." "Emma." He turned to her, cupping her massive clawed hand in his small, smooth ones. "I'm not running. Besides, I didn't come unarmed." He gestured to the object on the table, a sword, unremarkable except for the strange crystalline core running through its blade. "It was my grandfather's," Edward explained. "He was military, special forces. Before he died, he gave this to me. Said it was from a classified project. Something they recovered from a crash site in the 1940s. Never understood what he meant until I met you and learned about the galaxy." Emma's translator couldn't capture the full meaning of his words, but she understood. The sentiment, family, honor, legacy, concepts that transcended species. The first challenge released a Kravex hunter, a beast bred for gladiatorial combat, all fangs and armored hide. The crowd roared, expecting carnage. The Kravex charged. Edward didn't move until the last possible moment, then rolled aside with fluid precision. The creature crashed into the barrier, stunned. "Death Worlder reflexes," someone muttered in the stands. Earth, they were learning, was classified as a death world, a planet of such hostile conditions that its inhabitants evolved with unusual resilience. The second challenge was a Quantari warrior, 7 feet of muscle and bio-steel augmentation. The warrior sneered at Edward, then attacked with military precision. Edward parried, blocked, and countered with techniques that made Emma's warrior heart sing. He was small, yes, but fast. So impossibly fast. And his movements held an efficiency born from a species that had spent millennia at war with itself. The Quantari fell, unconscious but alive, merciful. Edward had shown mercy. The third challenge made Emma's blood freeze. From the far gate emerged a void serpent, a creature that should never have been in the arena. A monster from deep space that fed on electromagnetic energy. This is illegal. Emma roared at the Chancellor's box. But the shields were locked. She could only watch. The void serpent lunged, its body phasing between dimensions. Edward raised his sword, and it ignited. Plasma erupted along the blade's length, not fire but pure energy, white-hot and brilliant. The crowd gasped. The weapon hummed with power, its crystalline core pulsing with light that Emma recognized ancient draconian technology. Lost for millennia, Edward moved like light itself, the blade leaving trails of luminescence in the air. He wasn't just fighting, he was dancing, wielding technology his species shouldn't have possessed with the skill of a master. The void serpent shrieked as the plasma cut through its dimensional shifting, forcing it fully into reality. With one final strike, Edward drove the blade through the creature's neural cluster. It collapsed, dissipating into quantum particles. Silence. Then the arena erupted in deafening applause. Edward stood in the center, breathing hard, the sword still blazing in his hands. He looked up at Emma and smiled. In the council chamber once more. The Chancellor's tone had changed entirely. "Commander Emma," he said with newfound respect, "your bond is recognized. But tell me, where did the human acquire ancient draconian weapons technology?" Emma and Edward exchanged glances. Edward powered down the sword, its light fading to reveal intricate alien inscriptions along the blade. "Perhaps," Emma said carefully, "humans aren't as new to the galaxy as everyone assumed." The Chancellor's eyes widened in understanding. "The Lost Expedition. The Dragon Lords who vanished 3,000 years ago apparently crash-landed on Earth," Edward finished. "My grandfather found their ship, and the first found their descendant." Emma's scales flushed deep crimson, the draconian equivalent of a blush. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, assumed them fragile and new. But humans were survivors of a death world, warriors who fought with both strength and mercy. And perhaps, just perhaps, they carried the blood of dragons in their veins. "Welcome to the family, Edward of Earth," the Chancellor said. And this time, there was no mockery in his voice, only respect.